You'll pardon me if I talk fast. I'm trying to get through this in 15 minutes. Now, we're going to talk about the second, third, and fourth seal in the book of Revelation. Now, let's get started quick. When he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, "Come and see." There went out another horse that was red. Power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, that they should kill one another, and there was given to him a great sword. So what are we looking for? Power to take peace from the earth, murder, kill one another, and a great sword. So, what world domination ideology uh, in the past few hundred years do you think this applies to? Yeah, this is a given. Red communism. Uh, how do they work? Well, they work exactly how that verse says they work. They kill one another. They infiltrate and subvert governments from within. They murder their opposition uh, once they have enough representatives in the judiciary and in Congress or whatever apparatus a particular government happens to have. Then they are able to foment overt revolution. Sometimes not so overt. They just subvert and uh, and gain power. Now, the Fabian Society is a British socialist organization that does just that. Their goal is to uh, infiltrate the apparatus of government, media, academia, just to make Marxism the a litmus test for all political correctness. And of course, the last item there, the Cloward Piven strategy, to bring a nation to its knees financially by spending so much that the nation just becomes bankrupt. And America currently has a president who has spent more, borrowed and spent more than all previous presidents combined. That they should kill one another. Do communists kill people? Oh, what a surprise this is that they've killed 262 million men, women, and children in the 20th century alone. That's a statistic taken from a book entitled Murder by Government by R.J. Rummel. I didn't read the book, I just lifted the statistic. There's given unto him a great sword. Well, if the great sword is a metaphor for one single communist nation among the nations of the world that has supplied arms to the ideologies and rebellion against God, it has certainly been fulfilled by the Soviet Union, where the AK-47 assault rifle was developed. The T-34 tank was considered the tank that won the war for the Allies in World War II. They've developed nuclear submarines, nuclear weapons, the MiG, the fighter aircrafts, some of the best aircraft in the world, at times more advanced than that the United States could field. So let's move on to the third seal. And the Lamb, when he opened the third seal, the third living creature said, "Come and see." And John saw a black horse, and he that sat on him had a balance in his hand. And a voice in the midst of the four beasts said, "A measure of wheat for a penny, 3 measures of barley for a penny. Hurt not the oil and the wine." So what are we looking for? A balance, financial transactions, reference to oil and wine. The word balance is fascinating. It's the same Greek word that can also be translated yoke. As a matter of fact, it's translated yoke more frequently. It was an agrarian society. You'd suspect that. But why is that poignant? It's because a balance is nothing more than a beam on a pivot. And of course, that's a similar apparatus that you would utilize when pressing horses into active duty. Here's a couple of examples of beams on a pivot that are used to harness horses to do labor. And of course, here's a plow utilizing a beam on a pivot with horses providing the power. Now, why is that significant? Because I believe that what we have in view here, the equivocal nature of this word, possibly even designed by God for this purpose, is to suggest there's a financial farming going on, monetary subjugation, making merchandise of men. Of course, this is called mercantilism, and I think that's what's in view. I think that's the word that would summarize the entire Black Horse period. Now, it says a measure of wheat for a penny, 3 measures of barley. These are fixed prices, no negotiation allowed. I think this is sort of a price control sort of thing. Jimmy Carter tried to impose price controls in America during his short reign of terror. And austerity measures are something that's imposed on debtor nations that aren't able to pay their debt. But it's kind of unjust because central banks really don't have any skin in the game. They didn't earn the money they borrow. They loan out. I'm sorry. They just print it. They just create money out of thin air. There's no redemption clause in your dollars. You can't trade it in for silver. I mean, by law, a dollar is 1 ounce of silver. Try to get an ounce of silver for a dollar bill. That's not a dollar bill. It's a Federal Reserve note bill. But we got to go on because time is constraining us. Now, reference to oil and wine. If I'm right, and this period includes the robber barons of the early 18th and 19th century, what we have in view is something that is best characterized by John D. Rockefeller, the Standard Oil. Well, he was an oil tycoon, and what he did was one year the Ford Model T came out with a carburetor that had a lever on it that you could switch over to run on alcohol, because farmers were beginning to sell fuel grade alcohol at the roadside, and for a farmer, I mean, they already had agricultural waste that could be used to produce alcohol, or they could just grow high sugar crops, and they knew exactly what the market would be for it. Just look at the price of oil and charge a little less, and there you go. And so John D. Rockefeller probably recognized that the distillation process was equivalent to the refining process, but the farmer didn't have the additional costs of going out and leasing land and drilling for oil and then transporting the oil to a refinery and then transporting it again to the point of sale. A farmer, all he had to do was run his distillation equipment and take it out to the roadside and sell it on location. And of course, John D. Rockefeller realized he couldn't compete with that, and so he arranged for Congress to be lobbied. Well, in my view, lobbying is just another word for bribery. And a prohibition passed Congress. A bunch of cigar-smoking drunks passing prohibition doesn't make sense until you consider the lobbying aspect of it. And of course, the production of alcohol became illegal overnight. The ATF was born, and they would just had the authority by this law to go into any farmer's farm and break up the distillation equipment, confiscate or destroy all the alcohol product. And John D. Rockefeller knew that if he could get America, if he could make gasoline, if he give gasoline a monopoly on the motor vehicle fuel in America, all the other nations would follow, because at that time America was the most highly industrialized nation on the planet. And it's time to move on. He accomplished it. And of course, others have followed in his footsteps. That template was utilized by DuPont, who lobbied Congress to get marijuana made illegal. Hemp, of course, competed with his synthetic fibers, and it was far superior and far less costly. But by getting marijuana made illegal, all of a sudden his synthetic fibers had their market, and the DEA was born. And of course, the pharmaceutical industry has utilized that to get things like cocaine and morphine made illegal. You used to be able to buy morphine at the corner drugstore. Same with cocaine. As a matter of fact, cocaine was an ingredient of Coca-Cola. It was an alternative inebriant to alcohol. And there goes liberty, when the right to destroy yourself is taken away from you. The government has become our nanny. And I don't think it's a good thing. I love liberty more than that. Now we're going to look at the fourth seal. And here's the entire passage, I should say, 2 verses. And when the Lamb had opened the fourth seal, John heard the voice of the fourth living creature say, "Come and see." And John looked, and behold, a green horse. It says pale there because this was lifted from the King James. The word is the same word from which we get our English word chlorophyll, which of course is green. Everywhere else in the entire Bible, the Septuagint and the New Testament, this word is always translated green. It's never translated pale, except in this verse. It says his name that sat on him was death, and hell followed him. Power was given over them, over a fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, hunger, death, and the beasts of the earth. So what are we looking for? We're looking for a lot in this passage, so let's get started. Item number 1, his name that sat on him is death. Well, Muhammad's name wasn't death, unless you know something I don't about Arabic, and maybe Muhammad does mean death. I don't know. But I do know that he led 27 military campaigns against innocent caravans and villages and planned 38 others, and is quoted as saying, "I am the prophet that laughs when killing my enemies." I think he qualifies for that. You might disagree, but then we'd have, you're free to believe what you wish. All right, let's move on. It says hell followed him. Galatians 1:8 says, "Even if we or an angel from heaven should preach a gospel contrary to the one we preach to you, let him be condemned to hell." What is the gospel? It's that Jesus Christ died for our sins. There is no salvation in any other. There is none other name under heaven whereby men must be saved. That's Acts 4:12. So does hell follow a false prophet preaching salvation through terror and killing your enemies and, killing the infidel to the edge of the sword? Well, sure, yeah, that would follow that hell would follow him. So I think that's fulfilled. Now, power is given them over a fourth part of the earth, and the Muslim population of the world today stands at 28.2%. There's the graph. So I believe that has been fulfilled. It says that he's going to kill, that these are going to kill with sword, hunger, death, and the beasts of the earth. Well, sword's easy. That's featured prominently in the Quran as the instrument with which to kill the infidel. Put him to the edge of the sword. Well, hunger. Not only have the two major food famines in recent history occurred in Muslim countries, but Islam uses starvation as a political tool. They disfellowship people in their midst that are not Muslim or not towing the line, and they starve them out. Now, death. Death is an outcome, not a process. How do you kill somebody with death? Well, before recent history, this might have been a puzzle. But now, we've seen suicide bombers. We've seen people strap a bomb on themselves, walk into a crowd, and kill others through their own death. They get on a bus that's an enclosed area. A very effective technique. Just kill others, blowing yourself up to kill others. You can get on a plane and hijack it and steer it into buildings or just crash it, and you're using your own death to kill others. So that's been fulfilled in our time, no longer a mystery. How do you kill people with the beasts of the earth? Well, if you're going to use big beasts, that's obvious, but I don't see that happening in Muslim countries. I don't see Muslims using this to kill people outside their country. So how has this been fulfilled? Well, there's the other end of the size spectrum when it comes to the beasts of the earth. There's very small, even microscopic beasts of the earth like anthrax, Ebola, AIDS, smallpox, plague, ricin or typhus. These, of course, are referred to as biological weapons and could be a very effective means of killing. Now, I haven't heard of this occurring. I know there's an Ebola epidemic going on in Africa. I don't know if it's intentional, but that's indeed in the Muslim sphere of influence, where that's occurring in Liberia. That's North Africa, the Muslim sphere of influence. So it is indeed occurring in Muslim countries. Is it intentional? I don't know. I've not read anything to that effect. I personally think that they're doing this, and perhaps there's a news blackout to it. I don't know. I think it could be occurring in the world. So we've covered the four world domination ideologies of there's another name for that first one. Not just evolution or white supremacy, but it escapes me this moment. But we've covered communism, mercantilism, Islamofascism, and next we're going to be looking at the fifth seal, and we're going to see a very obscure prophecy in Genesis 49 that is being fulfilled today, and that's where we're going next. Next up, the fifth seal in Jacob's prophecy. God bless all. Thank you for joining me. I hope you'll join me in the next segment. Bye for now.